All right, first-time homebuyers, I have some slightly controversial opinions on real estate. So if you are getting ready to buy your first house, make sure you listen up because these 7 hot takes could actually save you a lot of time and money in the long run. Hey, I'm Alex, your local Central Valley Realtor, and I want to welcome you to the channel. And if this is your first time here, make sure you hit subscribe and tap that bell for notifications so you can be the first one updated about the Central Valley real estate market. If you are looking to move here, feel free to give me a call, send me a text, or shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to sit down with you to go over exactly what it is that you're looking for. Now, I am starting off the gate strong with this first hot take because this may ruffle some feathers, but if you are buying your first house and you have your parents and grandparents giving you advice about how to buy a home, but they have not purchased a home in 20, 30 plus, even 10 plus years, their advice is probably not going to be super relevant to you. And I know they mean well, and I still do recommend listening to them when it comes to maybe fixing up a home or work that needs to be done, repairs. But when it comes to the financial side, things have shifted a lot in the past decade. And as much as they mean well, their advice is just not going to help anymore. You know, they're going to be the ones that we hear a lot of times from older generations that you need 20% down to buy a home. That's just simply not true, and honestly not really realistic for a lot of first-time home buyers because it is simply so much harder to get into a home right now than it used to be with home prices. Interest rates are finally coming down, so that's helping a little bit. But whatever your parents or grandparents are saying to you, take it with a grain of salt. Really listen to your realtor a little more. It'll give you a much clearer idea of what the market is currently looking like. Now, hot take number 2 is that your first house is probably not going to be your dream forever home. Your first house is more used as a stepping stone to get either to your next house or eventually your dream home. Your first house, you're probably going to have to compromise on the size, the bedroom count, even the backyard, maybe even the specific city that you're looking in because one city may be more expensive than the other. But that's okay. I mean, I just bought my first house a couple of years ago, and while I absolutely love it, I know it's not going to be my forever home because there were things that I had to compromise on and that I would want in a future home. But what we're doing by buying our first homes is we are building equity. So eventually when we do want to buy our next home, we have some money from building up wealth in this first home to use that towards our next home. So maybe don't be super, super picky. I understand you're not just going to go buy the first house you see, but make sure that you're not passing up on a lot of really great homes, especially if it's in the location that you love, because to me, location is key. Because you're never going to find the absolute perfect home, especially if you're on a more limited budget like most first-time home buyers are. Now, the third hot take is if your realtor is not being super responsive, proactive, or overall helpful to you, dump them. Yes, you are going to have a contract with them, but there are cancellation clauses in those contracts. So read over the contracts, see how you can cancel them because you're making a huge, huge purchase. You need someone who's going to educate you on the process, walk you through it, and understand that this is your first home. Of course, you're not going to understand what's going on. So if they're not getting back to you within, at least 24 hours at the absolute longest amount of time, even then that's kind of pushing it. And if they're not doing all the market research for you, if you're not fighting on your behalf during that transaction, you need to get rid of them because there's going to be a lot of other realtors that are willing to help you, ready to walk you through the process and help you out, and you deserve a great buying experience. Now, my fourth hot take is waiting for interest rates to significantly come down is actually going to make it harder for you to buy a home. Now, let me explain because I know that sounds counterintuitive. So yes, when interest rates come down, especially a significant amount, this does give you more purchase power. You can afford more. You know, the same home at the same price, but with a lower interest rate is going to be an overall less monthly mortgage you're going to pay. But the reason it's actually going to be harder to get in is because the lower the interest rates come down, the more competition comes into the market. So everyone else is waiting for interest rates to come down too. You're not alone. And when everyone else comes into the market, you're now competing against multiple offer situations. Now, especially when you are a first-time home buyer, because you're probably looking at the lower priced homes. So even when interest rates are higher, the lower priced homes in any city are actually going to be selling first because there's always a demand for first-time home buyers. So when you're a first-time home buyer, you're probably going to have competition either way. When interest rates come down a lot, that's when you're really going to get beat out. You're going to get a lot of rejections, or what we don't want to see is you're going to have to come in over asking price and maybe get not the best deal. So if you actually buy not taking interest rates into consideration, when they're even just a little higher, you may get a better deal on a home because you don't have all these people competing against you. Now, my fifth hot take is you may actually be better off buying the more expensive home. And let me explain, because I know that is not what first-time home buyers want to hear, or any buyer really, but I'm going to take two homes and compare them. The first, let's say, is a fixer-upper. It's way cheaper because it needs a lot of work. There's the big ticket items like your roof, HVAC, water heater. Those are all probably shot and need to be replaced or are going to be replaced very soon. Now, let's say you find this other home that's $20,000 more, but it's completely move-in ready for you. You don't have to worry about all those features. Maybe there's just a few cosmetic things such as paint or flooring. Those are easy to take care of, but the big ticket items are ready for you to go. You're actually better off spending a little more. Your mortgage will be a little bit higher instead of having to pay out of pocket for that fixer-upper. So overall, make sure you're not just looking at the final price tag. You want to look at, what is this house going to need for me to move in? Is it worth it? And would I be better off just buying something that's move-in ready? So take that into consideration when you're looking at homes. Now, hot take number 6 is do not max out your budget just because the bank says you can. So you may be pre-approved up to $500,000. Doesn't mean you necessarily want to be looking at $500,000 homes, because you're going to be house poor. You want to make sure you sit down with the loan officer, go over your finances, and figure out what is the monthly payment you are actually comfortable with making. Just because you're approved for that much, it's going to hurt you in the long run. So, I've worked with clients where we do max out their budget just because that's what works for them, and that's totally okay. Everyone's situation is different. But just because you're approved up to a certain amount, maybe there's homes $100,000 cheaper that actually would work out great for you. Let's look at those first and make sure you're good with the location, the house itself, and then we can slowly work our way up in budget wise. But you don't want to get into the home and not have literally any money left over after your mortgage payment to make sure you have enough for repairs, things that come up, property taxes, insurance, all of that. Now, my last hot take, and this is a big one because it just kind of drives me crazy, but Zillow is not your realtor and is not your friend. If you are chronically scrolling through Zillow, you're going to see that they always have their little Zestimate on there. And I'm going to tell you, it is wrong a good chunk of the time. You need to have an actual realtor do a market analysis for you to see what a home is really worth. And the reason it's wrong so much is because Zillow cannot take into account the different factors that make a home worth a certain amount. So for example, it's pulling from, let's say, I don't know how far out it goes, probably a mile radius or so. And we have one home here and the house next door just sold. So that house sold for $500. So your house is worth $5,000 because it's around the same size. Well, Zillow doesn't realize that that house is completely upgraded. It has a swimming pool, much larger lot size. These are things that Zillow can't account for. And it's not doing you a service by just chronically being on Zillow and looking at those numbers. It may just not be realistic. So really consult a local realtor in your area because they're going to know the market much, much better than an AI generated platform. Now, I know I just gave quite a few controversial opinions, but I promise if you take some of my advice into consideration, it will help you out when you buy your first house. I just bought my first house a couple of years ago, so I understand what you're going through, and I've been personally in your shoes, so I get it better than anyone else. And if you are looking to make a move here to Central Valley, I work with first-time home buyers all the time, and I would love to connect with you, help walk you through the process and understand what you are getting yourself into. So if you are looking to make a move here, feel free to send me a text or give me a call, and I would be happy to sit down with you to go over all of your different options. Till next time, hope to show you around the valley.